On the Israeli raids into Lebanon, just first of all, I mean, do you have any updates on your assessment of what's happening in the ground if these remain limited as has been described?
So as of today, we have continued to see limited targeted raids. I won't speak to the future, but that's what we've seen as of this point.
And I think the Israelis have spoken about these going back some way in time as well, actually. Is that your understanding that they have been, they were going on to well before?
I think with that level of detail, I should, about a military operation, I should defer to them to speak.
Okay, and on the... You talked about this combination of deterrence and diplomacy. So and you're going to be consulting with the Israelis in terms of the response to Iran. Are both of those things that you're talking about important in your discussions with the Israelis now? Both deterrence and diplomacy?
Of course, they always are.
Okay. And on the point about, I just want to sort of get you to reflect on where you were at last week at the United Nations, a joint call with a number of countries urging restraint, de-escalation, a 21-day truce. Where we are now and what we've just seen happening in the region, when you reflect on sort of what has changed or what went wrong, if I can put it like that, for your own strategic position, what is the reason behind the complete difference in what you were aspiring to last week and where we're at now?
So nothing has changed in what we're aspiring to. We continue to see a ceasefire and a diplomatic resolution as the best way forward to the conflict in the north. At the same time, events that have happened over the past few weeks, like the death of Hassan Nasrallah, is the kind of event that we support, right? We want to see terrorists brought to justice. And attacks on terrorists, attacks on terrorist infrastructure to both stop them from launching these rocket attacks against Israeli civilians, and, as I said in response to Heba's question, to try to degrade what has been a destabilizing force for Lebanon and the Lebanese people. We support those actions, but long-term, ultimately, we do want to see a diplomatic resolution, and that starts with a ceasefire, and we're continuing to pursue that with Israel and our partners in the region. And
when you said just finally that, I think, which I don't think I've heard you say before, but you described Israel as expanding the conflict in these actions, and you also then said that doesn't, you talked about the death of Nasrallah, and perhaps we're also alluding to Hania, I don't know, but when you said that terrorists are killed, it doesn't mean we always agree with the way they do it. Is that something you'd apply to either of these cases?
It's not a comment I'm going to make with any specific for any specific strike, because as we've gotten into a number of times, there are when it comes to those types of assessments, a number of factors we have to consider. But I think it's true when you look at any government that launches military operations, we might look at it sometimes and come to different decisions, either for tactical reasons or strategic ones. Jillian, go ahead.
The Secretary's op-ed in Foreign Affairs today, he writes, the Biden administration's about the Middle East. The strategy has put the U.S. in a much stronger geopolitical position today than it was 4 years ago, given what you've just laid out, all the encouragement from the U.S. towards Iran not to launch, escalatory strikes. It seems unfortunate timing.
No, I think when you look at the position that the United States was in when President Biden took office, we were on the defensive around the world. The United States had squandered alliances, partnerships, friendships. We were pulling back in our engagements in Europe, in Asia, in the Middle East. People didn't know whether they could count on the United States or not. And what the Secretary lays out in that article, which I do commend to everyone's readership, is the series of steps that we have taken around the world to rebuild those alliances and partnerships, to confront powers who have a different vision of the world than we do. And I'll also note that one of the things the Secretary always hears in his travels through the Middle East, and I've witnessed this firsthand, is countries in the region welcoming U.S. engagement, wanting to see continued U.S. engagement, and oftentimes saying you are the only country that can play this diplomatic role. There's no other country in the region or the world that can play a role in trying to de-escalate this conflict, and so they want us to stay at it, and we'll continue to stay at it.
So then why wasn't the U.S., the Biden administration, able to dissuade Iran from launching today's attack?
Look, I think Iran has has funded terrorist groups, has launched attacks on interests in the region going back decades. If you look at what happened in under the previous administration's watch, Iran launched missile attacks directly at U.S. soldiers that led to traumatic brain injuries for more than 100 U.S. soldiers. So Iran has been a destabilizing force going back years, including during the previous administration. What we will do is continue to hold them accountable. Let me take one more, and then I'm going to wrap for today.
On the question about the partners that you don't want to name, last time you did talk about coalition of countries you put together, the UK, the Gulf countries, Jordan. The fact that we are not hearing about the same coalition, is it because of the lack of timing to get all the ducks in a row?
I just don't want to say any more about the partners that we engage, other than they should speak for themselves.
Sorry, I just wonder, could you say whether it's larger or smaller or the same size?
I just can't speak to it at all.
I also have a hard time understanding your definition of what's happening today. You said that Iran is supporting in defending the terrorist organization by attacking another country with ballistic missiles without any warning. If this is not an act of war, then what is it?
So let me just go back to what I said today, which is that Israel, with help from the United States and partners, was able to defeat this attack, and we're going to consult with them on the days forward. Let me go to Nike. I said that'd be last, but Nike, one more, and then I have some closing comments.
Thank you. So on Afghanistan, quickly, we saw the statement regarding Tom West's transition from the Special Representative for Afghanistan to Office on Sanctions Coordination. What does this mean for U.S. policy toward Afghanistan? Is Afghanistan a U.S. foreign policy priority?
Of course it is, and we will continue to stay engaged on Afghanistan. It remains an enduring priority. The work will now be led within the State Department by the Chief of Mission of the U.S. Mission to Afghanistan, Karen Decker, Special Envoy Amiri, and Ambassador John Mark Palmersheim.
I have a quick one.
And then if you'll bear with me for one moment, because there were comments that I wanted to make at the top that I wasn't able to have a little bit of an announcement. We are pleased to announce that as of today, the daily press briefings at the Department of State will include American Sign Language interpretation. This is in addition to the live captioning we provide online. The team of daily press briefing interpreters includes certified deaf interpreters, ensuring more accurate, nuanced interpretation for the deaf and hard of hearing community. The interpretation reflects our commitment to deaf and hard of hearing inclusion and our overall values, that everyone has equitable access to the information they need. Many offices at the department worked over a significant period of time to make this important step a reality. Today's action underscores the department's commitment to inclusion and our acknowledgement that all individuals are integral to the fabric of our country and our workforce. And with that, we'll wrap for today. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.